go. Good evening and welcome to the Westborough Advisory Finance Committee meeting of June 2nd, 2025. We are here in Memorial Hall and Town Hall. This is our 29th meeting of fiscal 2025. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopting the state of emergency, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means. In accordance with applicable law, this means that members of the public body, as well as members of the public, may access this meeting in person or via virtual means. In-person attendance will be at Memorial Hall, inside Town Hall at 34 West Main Street, and it is possible that all members of the public body may attend remotely, with in-person attendance consisting of members of the public. This meeting may be accessed remotely via the Zoom link in the posted agenda. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by in-person attendance or by accessing the meeting remotely as previously noted. Additionally, the meeting will be broadcast live in real time via Verizon Channel 28 and Charter Channel 192 or via Westborough TV's online platforms at westboroughTV.org and youtube.com Westborough/Westborough TV. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed by Westborough TV, and we thank them for their help. Okay, as we get underway, our first order of business is to introduce our new member and thank Rod Shafford for his service, and we will start off by introducing John Arnold, our town moderator, the appointing authority of the AFC.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks, everyone. As Walter just mentioned, I wanted to, first of all, thank Rod Shafford for his years of service here on the committee. Rod declined to be reappointed, and so I continued my search for other people who are interested. So I'll thank Rod on behalf of the voters and on the committee. And it's my pleasure to introduce Terry O'Day. I spoke with Terry first last year when I didn't have an opening, and she continued to be interested. We checked in again after this year's annual town meeting, and I will let her introduce herself in terms of her background, but I think she's very well qualified and interested, and I look forward to her participation in the committee. So welcome, Terry, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody.
Oh, let's grab a mic.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, well, they can. If you don't use the mic, we can hear you. But the,
Okay, all fair. So happy to join the Finance Committee. We moved into Westborough, my husband and I, in 1994 with our young boys, and we raised our children here. And we moved here because of the school system and for the sense of community, to be perfectly blunt. I've retired in March of 2020. I had a 30-year career, mostly in finance, so I have an MBA in finance from the University of Chicago. And my career has been, like I said, finance, strategic planning, strategic sourcing. I retired from Boston Scientific after a 13-year career there. I was VP of Finance. So my focus is really on annual planning, long-term planning, budgeting, analysis. I've always worked for a public company, not necessarily for a government agency or a nonprofit or anything like that. But my focus has always been around trying to generate value in the organization, and then also trying to communicate to like in our case, to the townsfolk, the value that each of the organizations bring. So hopefully I'll be able to provide some insights into the process. I do a lot around process re-engineering as well, so I'll be interested in looking at the process. John was able to share some of the information that you already have, which I was really shocked and overwhelmed with the level of detail that the planning occurs. And I think that's something that people don't appreciate in town, certainly me as just a taxpayer. So a lot of the good work, I think, there's an opportunity to be able to share some of that work with folks. So I'm really looking forward to trying to add some value back to the organization and help the committee with our goals and objectives.
Right, thank you very much, Terry. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Just like to echo the words. We appreciated working with Rod the last few years. He added a lot to our committee, and we will miss him, but we're very happy to have you here as well.
I will also add one more thing I forgot to mention is that, as I'm sure you all know, Gene has also declined to be reappointed, and I am actively talking to people and searching for people who are interested in taking his slot. So I will thank him once I find his replacement, but I also want to thank for Gene and just let you know I'm doing my best to try to get the committee back up to 9 active members as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Tonight, we will start off with our fiscal 25 budget transfer requests, and I'll just go in the order of the agenda. And I assume, Christy, you've joined us to speak to this one, but we have a $4,500 transfer Select Board Town Manager expenses from Select Board Town Manager salary and wages.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
So this, the funding is available because, again, due to the reductions for the fiscal 26 budget, we did not replace our management analyst who left in last fall. So that funding is available. The $4,500 is to hire a consultant. It's actually someone that we were previously working with through our insurance consultant who's retired to come on and help us with the transition from Blue Cross to Harvard because our HR coordinator has recently left.
Any questions for Christy? Somebody like to make a motion? 4,500 to Select Board Town Manager expenses from Select Board salary and expenses.
I'd like to move to recommend we approve the transfer of $4,500 from Select Board Town Manager expenses to Select Board Town salary and wages.
Second.
Second, Plumber.
Plumber, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Did we just read that backwards? I think you said from expenses to salary and wages.
So it's from salary and wages, excuse me, thank you, good catch. From salary and wages to Town Manager expenses.
Okay, and Beth, you're still
Still
seconding?
second.
Very good. Okay, most of you people are still in the same order. We just, and Terry
Terry at the end.
And I have to remember to go because I always forget.
Okay, Ahuja, yes.
Blumberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Brandt, yes.
Chimala, yes.
Clap yes.
Leslie, yes.
O'Day, yes.
All right. So that is 700 with 7 here today. 8 here, sorry. 8? So that must be 8-0 then. Beth snuck in on me. Okay. Very good. Our next item is from fire, to fire and salary wages from police salary and wages. So our fire chief is here to speak to the need from the fire department for $45,000 transfer.
Good evening. How are you? Patrick Purcell, serving as your fire chief. Requesting a transfer from police salaries and wages to fire salaries and wages in the amount of $45,000 to support a shortfall. Over the last part of the fiscal year, we've had a numerous amount of people that have been out on leave. I have had for 8 months 2 members serving overseas in the military. I've had 4 people injured off duty that required surgery that were out. 1 that is on long-term medical leave right now, family leave, through FMLA. And then we've had 3 people out for 10 weeks at a whack for the fire academy. So unfortunately, many of those came from one of my groups in particular. So we've been filling 2 to 3 people a day on that shift. In addition to that, we have gone a little bit backwards and we've been recalling people off duty from home just because of call acuity and simultaneous calls. And that's required some extra staffing for us. So that hasn't happened a lot, but that is also affecting our overtime.
Any questions for Chief Purcell?
Just a question, is this,
Go ahead. Go
How
ahead.
did the police department have that much extra?
I believe they had a lot of vacancies in their department.
Yeah.
They've been actively. They had some retirements. They had some resignations and transfers, and they had some surplus left back. I know they've been actively recruiting.
Yeah, they
Actually,
get.
when you fix the mic in the audience, that's when I see you the best.
I can't hear.
I don't know. They were missing a bunch of the people that we were supposed to have hired, I think, for quite a while this year, right? But they seemed like they had a big group of new people here the other night, so
Yes.
I think they're only one down now, maybe, at the end of the year.
I'm not sure. I know that the chief went through a significant hiring process, and he's hired some really great people over there. I don't know what their numbers are,
Yeah.
but they've rebuilt, but it has made some of those funds available, thankfully.
Go ahead.
First, an observation that in spite of whatever shortfall you've had in the staff, you guys have been doing a phenomenal job. So thank you for the folks who've been stepping up. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Is this a harbinger for what we're gonna look at in the next budgeting round as we look ahead? Is this gonna impact what we should be looking at?
Yes. So as you've seen in our budget summit, we get busier every year. I don't see that happening. I don't see us going backwards. And I mean, we're doing our very best. We run with 9 people minimum. And I mean, as I'm coming into town, the entire department's out on calls again right now. So yes, I would expect you to see me, and I kind of set the stage for that at the last budget summit about the overtime and how we're budgeted lower than many of our equal departments. So you'll probably see me asking either for additional overtime revenue or support to apply for the SAFER grant for 4 more firefighters and see if we can get them ahead of schedule, which is already outlined in the organizational assessment, or to come right out and ask for some additional staff. But also a fact of the matter is that our station is only so big and can only house so many people on duty at a time. So that's also making it slightly difficult, but
Thank you.
yes.
So I have a question. Not really a question. I mean, first of all, I just want to say, second, Andrew, about the fact that you guys do a job. I see all the sirens ringing all the time. I feel like, oh my goodness, so many incidents.
Yeah.
How are they going to handle it every time I hear it? But I think it's also a testimony to the tremendous job you do. Mine is not really a question, but I think just a curiosity to know exactly how do you come about knowing that yes, the police department has some budget which is unused, so you could borrow of it. Because the reason why I'm asking this is because I think it's a good template for everyone to know as well that okay, if some department is underutilized or not having some budget which is gonna be unused, it's good to actually take it from that department for the department which actually needs it without actually coming to the reserve. So I'm just curious to hear, like, how did you come about it?
So the town manager does a great job bringing the department heads together every month.
Okay.
And we've networked great relationships with each other. And as a result of that, we have open communication about what our budgets are like, where they're at, where our staffing is at.
Okay.
And at a meeting with the police chief, he said, I had expressed that I had a shortfall coming and I could see it. And he said that he just notified me, said, I'm a team player, whatever you need, I have money left. Please, come to me if you need it. And that's what I did. So he was great.
Awesome. Yep, like I said, that's a great template and great collaboration as well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, a lot of these transfers are thought out by the finance director and town manager or individual department heads. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
generally they have to look around if they want to do an internal transfer versus a reserve fund transfer.
Right.
Makes sense. Okay.
And welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. We need a motion.
I'm used to seconding them, so I'm just working into
Okay.
this. I'll try this. I'm going to move to recommend that we approve the transfer of $45,000 from police salary and wages to fire salary and wages.
Blumberg, second.
Blumberg, second. Okay. Any further discussion? Let's vote.
Ahuja, yes.
Blumberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Brant, yes.
Chibala, yes.
Clap yes.
Leslie, yes.
O'Day, yes.
That is 800 with 8 present.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chid.
Zero. And for the record, the police chief has signed off on this form, which you must do if you're getting funds from a different department as opposed to within your department. Our next transfer is from the DPW, and this is from the AFC Reserve Fund, which presently is sitting at $249,958. And with this change, it'll be down to 148,587. As you recall, we refreshed the reserve fund back to basically full fund at town meeting, knowing that the snow and ice would be here and leaving enough room in case something else went wrong. Anyway, introduce Chris Payant, our DPW director, to speak to this transfer.
Yep, so back in March, we went to the town manager and informed the chairman that we likely would need to deficit spend. We requested $125,000 for expenses and $25,000 for wages for a total of $150,000. The number you have is about $100,000, so we didn't need to spend any for wages, and we spent 100 out of the 125 for expenses. We send a weekly report to the chairman and also the liaison to the DPW. I don't know if you all see that, but we send it every week, so it's pretty clear what we're spending the money on. I know it's June, but back in March, it wasn't clear how the winter was going to end, and we did end up
Because it
obviously
snowed in
spending.
April?
What's that?
Because we had a snowstorm in April?
Right. So I don't think there's anything unique about the circumstances. Just most of it is weather dependent. Although we did, I don't know what you guys see, but one of our most recent purchases was salt, because we did have an issue during the year with salt not being available, and so we made sure the shed was stocked, which is again routine for us at the end of the season. So we're ready for next year.
So yeah, Prashant is our liaison, and he and I receive the report weekly.
Yep.
And there's a wide variety of things, but they're all related to snow and ice in some form. There's repair of the trucks and blades and plows and all sorts of things like that. And then there's material. It was interesting that we budgeted almost perfectly for labor this year, because I think there's 5,000 left
Yep.
in the labor, but a good chunk of the plowing is also done by some contractors, which is in the expense budget.
And towards the end of the winter, typically, we're not plowing as often, but we're still salting, and so the number of people,
Material.
the number of people involved in that are less, and so the expense for wages is lower.
Very good. Any questions for Chris?
Yeah, so I know that, and you alluded to it, that portion of the budget isn't just for the weather, it's also the care of the machines and stuff. And I noticed that this request was an exact amount to offset the negative amount. So does that also mean that you guys were able to bring all the equipment up to the speed you needed to for the end of the season? For what you would have spent the money on from snow and ice?
Tricky question. So, I mean,
much
yes, but once the new fiscal year hits, I mean, not on July 1st, but certainly into the summer, we'll continue to look at snow equipment, and there'll be money spent that's, going to be spent before, the first snowfall next year. So,
Sure.
I mean, we don't know of any obvious,
Yeah.
we didn't park something that's broken and just kind of sit it there, I guess is the
Yeah,
point.
I guess I'm concerned. The question comes from a place of: is there anything we're forestalling that you asked for the exact amount that if you'd had a little bit more, you would be doing more preventative work that we might need? But it sounds like this is just the routine rollover of the season.
Yeah, I think that's the way to
Okay,
describe it.
thank
yeah.
you. Apologies for
They didn't request this exact amount until last week. right?
Okay.
Yeah.
They sort of told the town manager, asked the town manager, we're thinking we might need this much, and it's a go-ahead, but because you're actually allowed to deficit
Yep.
spend this money, even if we didn't do this, it would just get immediately applied to the.
Yep. So we said back in March 125, we need to reconcile before the end of this month, and which is why we're here tonight. And 103 was the number that actually was spent.
103,923 cents. So
29.
29
Yep.
cents. Okay, I took my glasses off.
It's fine. We'll get this down.
Yeah.
We're all rusty. Thank you
All right.
for the answer.
Someone want to make a motion
I'd like to move to recommend that we approve the transfer of $103,900.29 from the AFC Reserve Fund to the DPW snow and ice expenses.
Any further, second, maybe.
Clap second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Ahuja, yes.
Bloomberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Brant, yes.
Jamala, yes.
Clap yes.
Leslie, yes.
O'Day, yes.
Okay, so that's 800 with 8 present. Thank you, Chris, for coming
Thanks,
by.
Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, the water expenses from water salary and wages so far is not needed, so we don't have that, and we have not received any other intra or interdepartment or reserve fund transfers. So therefore, we are done. Move on to public comment. John already had his shot, so seeing no one else, seeing no one else wants to make public comment. Next up is approval of minutes of March 13th and March 22nd. Comments, questions, motions?
I'm ready to move to recommend the approval of, did you want to? I thought we wanted to go. Recommend the approval of the minutes for March 13th and March 22nd, and May 12th.
We don't have May 12th yet.
Not
Oh,
May
we don't
12th,
have
not
May
if
12th.
available, so March 13th.
Yeah.
Who the hell trusted this guy, Jamoke, to do this? March 13th and March 22nd.
Okay, and March 22nd was annual town meeting, coincidentally, or not? Is there a
Blumberg,
second?
second.
Okay, Blumberg, second. Any further discussion? Okay, not, let's vote, or we'll do both at once.
Yep. Ahuja, yes.
Bloomberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Brant, yes.
Jamala, yes.
Clap yes.
Leslie, yes.
O'Day, abstain.
Abstain. Oh, so that is 7:01. Very good.
Spicy.
Thank you very much.
You may have already known.
We can't have them all be unanimous.
No, it's technically probably unanimous. It's just one abstention.
That's true, it is actually
Yeah, so-
unanimous.
Okay, next, AFC organization, something near and dear to my heart. I've successfully convinced 2 individuals to be chair and vice chair should this committee so vote. But Jane Clapp has agreed to take on the duties with Josh Brandt. And we met and figured out a way that could split up the work, make it a little more palatable. And I'm sure we will all help them to the best we can. So I'll make that motion. I move to appoint Jane Clapp as, or do you want me to use the E, Elizabeth?
Well, I mean, it is E, Jane.
E.
I mean, I
Jane
don't know that you have
Clapp?
to say it, but that's
Okay.
what'll go on the
Anyway,
website.
as
I did make
chair,
them fix it.
And Josh Brandt as vice chair for I guess it's a term of 2 years, we'll say, which is traditional anyway.
Thank
You can
you.
always bail.
Bradley, E. second.
Bradley E. Bradley.
Hey.
Any discussion? Quick before they change their mind. Vote.
Ahuja, yes.
Bloomberg, yes.
Bradley, very yes.
Do we vote?
I don't know.
Yes, you vote.
We'll vote on each other.
Brant, yes.
Jamala, yes.
Clap yes.
Leslie, yes.
O'Day, yes, and congratulations.
I mean, it does seem weird to vote for yourself, just to be
Congratulations,
clear.
I'm
That's okay.
Good to both of you.
There was a lot of negotiation that happened on like who was going to do what.
What percentage pay raise did you get for this?
But there is a significant pay raise. You get double or triple your pay. Doing that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. I'll just keep going here and Jane can take over next week.
Perfect.
The other thing, so under liaison reports, is there anybody who would like to report in? I will start by telling you the library is reopened in their new location today, so very exciting. The move went very smoothly and very well. The movers at the library building committee, our owner's Patrick manager said that the movers thought this was the best organized group they've ever dealt with because they got there and everything just was ready to go. And it looks very nice, and very excited about that. So construction will start shortly at the old site. There's a little bit of things where the money that you vote at town meeting really doesn't happen till July 1 because it's a borrow, but we still had some money from the past two articles that, because we underspent, so that covered some of the costs and other things. But
Walter, for the record, can you please state the new location?
the new, at Bay State Commons, I don't know the number.
Okay, but it's at Bay State Commons.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
want you to put the blurb.
Their temporary location at Bay State Commons, yes. First floor. So that's all good. Anybody else? Liaison stuff, not that much.
First of all, I have to say I am not at all surprised that the librarians were the most organized people for the movers. Like that seems very fitting, very on brand, right? Like of course they were organized. They probably had those books all in order by some sort of system.
They do, but these people specialize in moving libraries, so they would have
Oh,
seen
so even
other
for library-
even
wow.
amongst libriarians, we stand out.
It's 1500 Union Street.
1500, okay, Union Street for Beth.
They took a picture of the doors.
So I was going to share. I attended the finance committee or the finance department team
Finance
meeting.
team.
Finance team meeting. That's what it is. Finance team meeting this morning, where we had a conversation about comparison communities, and so we'll get a report. We'll really work on some sort of understandable, defined, some process explanation and definition, because there's a lot of question on how did these get picked. They're really working on sort of a mathematical way of deriving, right? More points for the closer size, more points for proximity, right? To really get to a ranking that we then can evaluate on every 5 years or whatever the case may be, and some sort of standard and explainable methodology. So they're working on that. We'll continue working on that. And the idea at this point, I think it sounds like we'll probably do presentations to the select board, to AFC, to the school committee, and talk through sort of the methodology used, the communities that sort of ended up in the top 15 based on that methodology, and then give a little bit of time for some public feedback before we utilize that sort of for that and sort of roll out the new version at the budget summit in the fall. So that's sort of the plan at this point. We're still working on, how those different factors are weighted, but I very much appreciate that there's really sort of a qualitative factor to it.
Quantitative?
I was going to say sort of both, right? Because there are some yes or no, right? There's some like, what do we think are the important, and then what is sort of that underlying mathematical, quantitative calculation. So I think it really ties in both of those. It's not just the what seems most similar to me or who is right next door. And so I think it's a good balance. So yeah, I think we'll hear more. And the nice part is that we can then sort of publicly show people, because there's a lot of people that say, well, I don't think that community is similar because, and you could look at how it ended up really based on that math and those factors that we said were important and characteristics. And I think at this point, the plan is probably those 15 communities. In theory, you could go in and you could say, well, I don't think this one's similar because, and strike one out and still have a good pool if that's really what you're looking for. So I think it's good. I think having that explanation and really understanding of how we got there as opposed to surprise, here's the communities. When they present it, we'll probably get a look at sort of all of the charts that we saw with the current comparison communities now with the new ones to see sort of where do we benchmark now amongst these communities, and does that feel right as opposed to, does that math add up? So I think it's great progress, and I think it'll assuage a lot of concerns in really understanding how we got those communities. So yeah.
And I think the first time it was chosen, it was more, for lack of a better word, special interest groups, each getting a couple of choices of towns to compare to based on how it affected them. And, in this case, because we talked about it briefly the month before, was that they were trying to pick sort of topics that you think are important. Proximity was one of them, or population. It was around the size of Westborough, not 4 times the size of Westborough. So you got points the closer you were. And I think at least a few of the towns stayed on the list, but some others are new. And probably
It's interesting though, in
more
like the top 15, there are probably 4 of the existing ones is all, right? I mean, it's a pretty significantly different slate of communities that end up when you using that model, so.
And so was the selection criteria set, so you could use it for across the board, school, for school assessment, tax assessment?
Yep. The goal is to all have sort of one shared group of comparison communities. So yeah, so the, school budget as a percentage of the total budget is one of the factors in there, right? So looking at communities based on that. So there's there's location, right? So distance from us, because there's a lot of questions about, our neighboring, and it's hard to leave out Northborough, right? I mean, I think that's sort of the community that we very clearly see comparison regularly. So there was that distance from us was added in. Population, your average home price, percentage of sort of the levy that is residential properties, and single family income. So a lot of those sort of demographic characteristics, and then sort of the allocation of spending. It is interesting. So Allison was sort of looking at the comparison communities that DESE provides, and there were only a handful of what they would consider our comparison communities from a school perspective that were on there. Mm-hmm. But I think it's because their characteristics look a lot at your student demographic and specific student populations that aren't necessarily going to parallel with general community. But I think that's why you add in sort of the percentage of our budget that is school, and some of those sort of school-specific criteria to find some balance so that we can all utilize that same set of communities.
I think that'd be great, right? Because that's always a sense of contention at town meeting. Like, how'd you come up with a list?
Yeah.
And if you can get it done, and then department heads agree to it, right? They embrace it, and then you can kind of get it out there in front of town ahead of time.
Yes.
Hopefully, it dissipates some of that angst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the end, you got to decide what's right for your own community, but it is good to have comparisons, and I think this is a more rational method of comparisons, and then you can look at the reasons why the weightings and the things, and then eventually people could change those if they feel.
Yeah, people always want comparisons and relativity, so that's great work.
I mean, I also think it's nice too, because if you wanted to look at a specific data point that you want to exclude from the model, sort of having the data and saying, well, that one is similar because, having that methodology gives you the ability to sort of remove those ones that you don't, right? If you say, well, I think we spend too much on schools, so I want to take out schools that are at 51%, or whatever the case may be, right? I want to remove that from the weighting. Having that clear methodology, I think, allows you to do some of that as well.
Awesome. To the subject of liaisons, just food for thought, but at a future meeting, we'll reshuffle the deck a little bit on the assignments as we're changing jobs up here. But also, Jean McMahon did police and also fire ambulance and council on aging. Jane did youth and family services, and becoming chair, she'll have enough other things, probably want to not do that, as well as schools. Rod and Prashant, you kind of took over some of the things, so maybe you own the sewer and water, if you will. But Rod did sewer, wastewater treatment plant, and water enterprise. Also the Affordable Housing Trust. And I think he may be remaining on the Municipal Building Committee, and I don't know that was an AFC appointment. I think that might just have been an appointment, and he was our liaison, so we might need a liaison to that, but we'll see. Anybody else who is interested in doing something different, I'll send you this, then you can circulate the list and people can think if they want to change up what they're liaising to. And I'm certainly freed up a lot of my time on this stuff, so I could do some of them now too. That's all very good. The next scheduled meeting is June 23rd, provided we have any more transfers for that date. If we don't, there's probably not much point in meeting. Last year, we had to have a meeting in July because they're allowed to transfer until July 15th. And so we did have a one around July 10th last year. So, and then typically we wouldn't meet again till the end of August to start getting ready for fall town meeting. So I guess you'll hear when that happens. And I guess that's all I've got. Anybody else? Anything else they need to talk? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
Second.
2 seconds, but that's better than none.
Ahuja, yes.
Lambert, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Brant, yes.
Clap, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Today, yes.
Hey, we are adjourned. Thank you, Westborough TV.
Look at this, my first meeting. Look at 20.